Lili Olson and I did my project on the genocide in Darfur. You may be asking yourself, what exactly is a genocide? It could be any of the following acts to destroy ethnic, racial, or national group. It could be killing members of the group, causing serious harm to members of the group, or inflicting conditions to bring total destruction of the entire group. Some history on the genocide in Darfur is in 2003, the Sudan Liberation Army and the Justice and Equality Movement groups started fighting each other and fighting the Sudanese government. The fight was mostly over the land. The land was being fought between the northern non-Muslim groups and the southern non-Arab Sudanese groups. Also, to add to the conflict, oil was discovered in Darfur, and that made the land in Darfur become extremely interested in the Sudanese government and highly looked at. Also, in the 1990s, the government disregarded all of the violence that was happening in Darfur and totally decided to ignore it, only making the problem worse because the violence rates skyrocketed. In 2008, 26,000 troops were taken and deployed to Darfur. Also, President Omar al-Bashir was charged with mass killing, rape, robbery, and just pretty much a massacre of all of the civilians. Also, South Sudan secedes from the rest of the nation by the popular vote, and they become the world's newest nation. The violence does not stop there, though. In 2004, President Bush recognizes what's happening in Darfur as a genocide, and that's the first time that anyone categorizes the violence. The government of Sudan signs a comprehensive peace agreement to end the Second Sudanese Civil War. The UN, United Nations, refers the mass killings in Darfur to the International Criminal Court. And peace talks are started between the Sudanese government and the rebel groups in 2006, but the rebel groups refuse to cooperate, and so the violence keeps going and the peace is not restored. In 2007, the United Nations Security Council passes 4 resolutions and issues arrest warrants for crimes committed in Darfur, such as the rapes and killings. This is the first time that arrest warrants were actually given out and recognized. Peace agreements were signed to stop the violence, but again, the rebel groups refused to cooperate, so nothing actually happens. Some details about what's happening in genocide is that the group that is carrying out the mass killings are government-funded, Arab-funded, and they're actually called the Hanaweed, also known from the people in Darfur as the devils on horseback. What they do is they go through villages, they burn them to the ground, they like to destroy every single economic opportunity, which means burning the land, destroying the land, burning trees, pretty much destroying all the resources. They pollute all of the water that the villagers have. They murder, torture, and rape all of the civilians in the villages. 480,000 people have been killed so far, and many villages have been destroyed. 500 villages destroyed. 2.7 Darfuris are in displaced persons camp or refugee camps because they have been run out of their villages and their homes. And 4.7 million depend on aid for survival because they have nothing left. My solution is that concerning the genocide in Darfur, the United States should just give aid. There's nothing that the United States can really do to stop the massacre and stop the mass killings, so I believe that we should just try and help instead of causing tension. Food, water, medical supplies, and doctors should be given to all of the refugee camps in Darfur. All of these resources should be provided by the UN and the Peace Corps because they are already government-funded groups. Already about 4 million Darfuris depend on aid already, and so I feel as if more aid is given and more money is put in to helping these people, then more lives can be saved. Volunteer professional doctors should be flown in to Darfur. Also, medicine, bandages, vaccines, shelters, including tents, where all of these stations can be set up, especially beds can be set up. So like little clinics in all of the refugee camps for the victims of the genocide and the victims of the rapes and mass killings and shootings. The Peace Corps is government funded, like I already said, and so I don't think it would cost any more of the United States people's money. This solution would help because but instead of sending troops in our army, we're gonna send aid, and because the troops, if we send troops, they could just cause more tension between the Hanaweed and the Sudanese government, putting the United States at risk with other countries and Sudan. I put some quotes in my PowerPoint of politicians who feel that sending troops to Darfur would be a huge mistake and that it would just increase the crime. Since 2003, many UN soldiers and peacekeepers have been murdered and killed because they're fighting for peace, even though peace is not being restored. And we want to save lives, not end them. So I feel if we sent aid instead of troops, that we could save more lives.